It's a cold, stormy night just off the coast of Florida in 1622. A Spanish cargo ship full of gold and silver is desperately trying to make its way back to Spain. But as it passes through the Straits of Florida, it sails directly into a hurricane. Its masts are torn apart, its rudder gets ripped off by the waves, and within minutes, the Atocha is brought down. According to records, at least $500 million worth of treasure went down that night, and its location eventually became a complete mystery. But more than 3 centuries later, after sitting at the bottom of the ocean, the motherlode of all treasure was finally discovered, and it proved to be more valuable than ever imagined. When the Atocha went down that fateful evening, it ended up on a shallow reef in the Florida Keys, a 200-mile stretch of tiny islands. At the time, the location of the ship was known, but just a few weeks later, a second hurricane ripped the ship apart, leaving a trail of debris across the ocean floor. The location of the Atocha seemed to be lost forever. In order to learn more about where the Atocha sank, he went to the Spanish archives in Seville, but records of its treasure were never forgotten. According to its cargo manifest, it was holding 150 gold bars, 1,000 silver bars, and more than 50 chests full of coins. All in all, the treasure would be worth at least $500 million today. All someone had to do was find it. That's where American treasure hunter Mel Fisher came in. He had spent his entire life diving. With the allure of the Atocha sitting in the Florida Keys, Mel and his family moved across the country in search for its treasure. With little more than a boat and some metal detectors, they began their search in an area called the Matecumbe Keys, which had been mentioned in several documents. But after a year of searching and more than 100,000 miles covered, they hadn't found a single thing, and came across this document. Dated just 4 years after the ship went down, it mentioned that a search had taken place in an area called the Marquesas Keys, which was more than 100 miles from where Mel was searching. Mel and his crew instantly moved their boat and started searching in this new location. But the divers were now searching in deeper water, and they had one huge problem: visibility. And so Mel came up with a genius yet simple solution. He attached 2 large tubes to his boat that could be lowered down in front of the propellers. These would redirect the clear water from the surface and shoot it down to the bottom where the divers were searching. Not only did this clear up the muddy waters perfectly, it had the added benefit of digging a big hole and revealing whatever was buried underneath the sand. Then, one day in 1971, the sand cleared and revealed an enormous anchor. Although it wasn't a piece of treasure, it was their first clue that perhaps the real thing wasn't far away. More artifacts started to show up, like cups, swords, cannonballs, and iron nails used to hold the ship together. To keep track of everything, they started building a map of circles, showing where each piece of treasure had been found. After a while, a clear line started to appear on the map, and they came to the conclusion that the Atocha's motherlode must lie somewhere along this line. But after 2 years of searching the line, the crew had failed to make any valuable discoveries. Mel was running out of money fast, and if he didn't find some treasure soon, he'd have no way of funding the search. But then, in 1973, just a few hundred feet away from the anchor, the crew came across a stash of silver coins and 3 huge silver bars. This find alone was worth well over $100,000, but it wasn't clear if it was from the Atocha or its sister ship, which had also gone down that night. And so they went back to the ship's cargo manifest. Every single piece of gold and silver was recorded in this document, along with their exact weight and serial number. By comparing the engravings on the silver bars to the document, they confirmed that the treasure trail they were following really was from the Atocha. The crew began systematically cleaning the coins using electrolysis and selling them off to make money. Mel and his crew were back in business. With this influx of cash, the crew set out to find more treasure, armed with new sonar detecting technology. In 1983, while on their way out to the line, the crew's magnetometer started lighting up. Divers went down to check, and they came across several metallic objects in a location southeast of the line. By plotting these on the map, a new line started to branch off from the original one. They knew that the ship was ripped apart a month after it sank, so it was possible that the debris was carried on a different path. They followed this new line for a couple of years, and it continued to reveal little bits of treasure. Then, on the 20th of July, 1985, a large but faint object showed up on their sonar scanner. Two divers immediately entered the water and began searching for it. On a hunch, Greg Wareham decided to wander off about 100 yards to the east. And there it was. Sitting in front of him was an 80-foot-long shipwreck with piles upon piles of silver bars sitting on top. Off to the side were several chests full of coins and gold bars glinting in the light. There was no doubt that after 16 years of searching, Mel and his crew had finally found the mother lode.